Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm your host, Jim McDannald, joined as always by my trusty co-host, Tyson Franklin. Tyson, how's it going today?
I'm fantastic today, Jim. I've had a few chuckles before we got on here. So I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling the energy for this episode.
Yeah, it's, we're kind of rolling into this new year, and hopefully everybody's off to a good start there amongst our listeners.
Well, I hope so. Yeah. Well, look at this. After they listen to this episode, the year is the trajectory is going to be upwards.
I like the way that sounds for sure.
So today we are going to talk about I'm going to mention my word of the year, what it is. I'm going to tell everybody it is, because last week we sort of hinted that we were going to talk about it. And I reckon everybody has been sitting around all week just going, I wonder what the word is. But not only just going to explain what mine is, I'm going to tell you why you need to have one yourself. But also want to mention that we did talk about this on episode 134, about midway through 2024. I think it was July, actually. And we spoke about the word of the year. But what I'm going to talk about today is just taking it that little bit further. So you don't have to have listened to 134, but I recommend go back and listen 134, 133, 132.
I think they get the idea.
Go back and listen to them all. Yeah, they get the idea. You can't listen to them all. So I won't tell my word of the year. I'm gonna work my way up to it.
That sounds good.
Got some other things to talk about first. So having a word of the year, the whole idea of it is it sets your intentions for the year and it gives you directions. That's the first thing about creating a word for the year. And personally, I think it's important that your word of the year aligns with what your goals are for the year as well. And it's important to look at your word of the year every day, because that's what keeps you on track. And if you don't look at it every day and you forget about what the word of the year is, and this word of the year is supposed to give you some form of direction, then you will very easily go off track. So since you should be looking at your goals every day, this is why I think the two actually align really well together.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, sometimes if you have a lot of different goals, right, it's sometimes hard to go through all of those, every single day. But, when you have that one word, it's something you can wake up and see, and it can kind of, you can reflect on that, and then maybe the goals come back to you more easily. It's kind of like almost like a trigger, like a positive trigger in a way to help you kind of start the momentum during your day.
Well, it's probably no different to, and you might think, if you're on a thing, I want to lose weight. And that's a common thing. I want to lose weight. I want to get healthy, but whatever that particular goal is, it's very easy to go off track because there's just, there's just indulgences that are always around you. So sometimes it's a constant reminder. Sometimes it might be a friend that says, hey, I thought you were trying to lose weight. Be your wife. Speaking from experience, do you really need that chocolate bar? I thought you were trying to lose weight. Thank you for that. So my wife can sometimes be my word of the year. But anyway, so my word of the year for 2025 is contentment. And everyone's going, oh, they've almost had to pull over their car and go, wow, I have to take that in. And what contentment is, it's a state of being happy and satisfied. And I don't mean excited, happy, like, yay, that sort of happy. It's more like just peace, like a ease of mind type contentment. And, I forgot what I was going to say then. And it's like a lot of people will make like a New Year's resolution. But by the 1st of February, it's usually been totally forgotten about. They'll be there New Year's Eve, be with all the friends, and they go, this year, this is my resolution. I'm going to do this. And a few weeks later, life gets in the way, and then it's totally lost. And this is why the word of the year is, it's not a word that you use it as a resolution. It's a word, like I said, that is going to constantly give you that nudge to sort of keep moving forward. And since you were reading it every day, it's a reminder to make sure that your daily activities align with it as well. So to give you a perfect example, in my brain book, and I mentioned this on episode 134, I have my word of the year at the front of the brain book. I also have the word of the year right next to what my goals are for that quarter. So I'll look at my goals for the year, and then I'll break it down into like quarterly goals. It's a little bit more technical, but I'm not going to get into the details. But I have my word of the year there. So as I'm reading my goals of the word, I look at the word of the year and I go, okay, what have I got planned today? What am I doing today that aligns with my goals, but also that word of the year is going to push me along to do it at the same time? I hope this makes sense to people. It's, is it making sense to you,
Yeah,
Jim?
I mean, I think like we talked about, it helps kind of trigger like certain actions, right? Like it can be, like you said, once you get into February, March, or April, sometimes if you don't have clear goals and kind of a way to trigger some action, or for you to kind of realize why you're doing what you're doing within this word can be of help of doing that. I think it's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I think is really important, it helps you with the decision making. So say for example, if an opportunity all of a sudden presents itself to you, your word of the year will guide you whether you should or should not do that. So for example, if someone's word of the year was simplicity. So they just went, oh, this year I want simplicity to be a word. I want to look at everything. Instead of everything being so complicated and so many moving parts, I want to break it down. And that was my word of the year a few years back. Then all of a sudden, if simplicity is your word for the year, then anything that is presented to you that looks overly complicated, it's really easy to make a decision. So if you were building your current, say, podiatry business, and all of a sudden somebody goes, oh, there's this opportunity to have another podiatry clinic in another town. And you got to go, okay, does that fit in with my goals for this year? And does it fit in with my word for the year? Because if you already had goals set up for the year, and one of the goals was not to go and open up a second practice, even if it's a great opportunity, then that word of the year may help you make that decision. Or you might change the word of the year and go, you know what, I'm going to change it to being overly complicated. Stress. I want more stress. So that's going to be my word of the year. No, you don't want that. So if simplicity is the word, you know what your goals for the year, an opportunity arrives in front of you, you can then use the word and the goals that you set on whether you do it or whether you don't.
No, that makes sense. Just kind of helps you maybe break things down a little bit into smaller steps. By having that word and kind of retain your focus on what you're trying to achieve that year. Then it can extrapolate that to some of your more lofty goals and how you can apply that word to achieve some of them.
Yeah, but it's like my word, contentment. If it's a state of mind of being like happy and satisfied. So if I'm considering attending a podiatry event, or I'm going to run a workshop, or I'm going to take on another coaching client, for me, I need to ask myself, will this help me be more happy and more content? Or not more happy, more content. Will it help me be more happy and more satisfied? Because that's part of my word about contentment. So if all of a sudden there was a coaching client that approached me and I know this person's going to be a right real pain in the ass, because sometimes you meet people, you just know they're a pain in the ass, or they're going to be a lot of work. Yeah, they approach you and go, oh, I've got 8 clinics and they're just raving on with all this stuff. And you go, this is just not going to be fun. And then I wouldn't take it on. Or if somebody said, hey, Tyson, we want you to speak at this conference in Bangladesh. And I'm like, how have I got to get there? And then they work out the flights and you got to do this. And it's going to take 3 days to get to wherever, some small little place. I'm like, I don't want to do that, because I'm not going to I won't be content doing that. And I won't be happy, and I'm not going to be satisfied. So that's why it's important to just keep looking at the word, keep looking at your goals.
That makes a lot of sense. With some of the people you've worked with, some of the coaching clients, is there any examples you could point out that you thought were pretty good?
Yeah, well, one that was really good is I had one coaching client and their word was butterfly. And when they said butterfly, I went, butterfly? And they went, yeah, because when they thought about butterfly, it was like, it's like in a cocoon, and then it sort of breaks out and it spreads its wing, and it's, they're talking about a beautiful butterfly, not a moth, and spreads its wing and it goes out. But what was brilliant about that word, because I thought, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because that's the part with the word of the year. It only needs to make sense to you. I was reading a website and I had these like 50 words of the year that people can have. And when I went through them all, they were more like values, and, they were like beliefs and values, where to me, the word of the year just needs to make sense to you. Nobody else needs to understand. So your word of the year could be pen. Now, other people might go, what the hell does pen mean? But for you, it might be, for you, it's writing down your thoughts. It could be, you want to write that, which could align with a book that you want to write, or it could just be remembering things. So pen means something to whoever would come up with that word. And so the word butterfly, when they explained it to me, I went, oh yeah, that's really cool. But what made it even better was they said, we had this idea of getting little stickers, little butterfly stickers, and putting them at different places around their clinic, on the computer, in their car, to remind them what it was they were trying to achieve that particular year. Because my word of the year in 2024 was evolve, which aligned perfectly with my goals for that year, because I wanted to evolve myself as a coach, and I wanted to help my coaching clients evolve. And I think when I shared my word of the year about evolve, that's how butterfly sort of got sparked, because a butterfly also evolves, changes from a cocoon into a butterfly. Some people, a moth. Geez. But I don't know. I just think about what you would like more of in your life, and then write it down. And you'll probably find your word of the year will be somewhere in there. So it could be abundance. It could be simplicity. Abundance has been one of my words of the year. And I had a friend, I think it was like the first year we ever came up with word of the year. It was a long time ago. And I said, my word of the year is going to be abundance. And he went, this friend of mine said, me too. I said, okay. So every time we bumped into each other anywhere in Cairns, because we saw each other a lot, we would just scream from we could be at a shopping center, and all of a sudden I'd hear abundance getting screamed out, and I'd look around and I'd wave at him and go, abundance. And I'd scream it back. People would look around us and think, you guys are idiots. That year, both our businesses had this massive increase. And at the end of the year, I remember saying to him, that was the best year we've ever had in our clinic. He said it was the best year we ever had in a sign writing business as well. And it was because we just kept throwing that word out there. So, and that's why I said it's got to align with your goals. Like if you look at your goals for 12 months, just don't overcomplicate things. A lot of people don't set goals because they just, I don't know, they try and think about it too much. Just write down what you bloody want this year and just break it down. It's not that hard.
No, absolutely. I think like you said, sometimes people overcomplicate things. You just gotta keep it simple and kind of go after it.
Yeah, and just to sort of finish up, like one of my words in 2018 was connection. And if you read the thing on the back of my wall, that's when that went up there. The next connection may be the one that changes your life. Because it was in 2018, I was really starting to connect with a lot of people overseas because of the other podcasts I used to have. And then it was leading up to doing the Podiatry Legends podcast. So I just think, and the final thing I want to say is you can use the same word twice. So if you have a word that, just really got you fired up, that you use it, there's nothing saying you can't keep using that word. Your word for the year could be the same word every year for the next 10 years. You don't have to keep changing it. But I like to change it because I feel I'm a different person every 12 months. So therefore, I feel my word needs to evolve with me, which evolve was last year.
That's a great way to end it, I think.
Yeah. So, I hope everybody who listens to this sits down and seriously goes, Tyson and Jim are pretty smart. I'm going to have a word of the year. And they write it down. And just like I said, look at it every day. Put it somewhere where you will go to it. Like I said, mine's in my brain book. And because I know that I use my brain book every single day, I put my goals in there, read the goals. And to point something out to everybody is something that's really interesting. In 2024, I look at my word of the year every day. I looked at my goals every day. First quarter, I hit every single goal, smashed them. Second quarter of the year, read my goals every day, look at my word of the year every day, smashed every one of those goals. Third quarter, repeat. It was like rinse and repeat. Read my word of the year every day, smashed, hit every single goal. Fourth quarter, October, November, December, I got slack. I didn't read my word of the year every day. I didn't look at my goals every day. And I did not hit one of them. Missed every single one of them. And my whole attitude and just how I felt about leading towards the end of the year wasn't as good as what it had been for the first 3 quarters of the year. And it wasn't because I was tired. It's because I didn't look at the goals. Or the goals that I'd set for that last quarter didn't motivate me enough to actually want to achieve them. And then therefore I didn't look at my word of the year. I didn't evolve as much as what I wanted to in that last quarter. So I think it's just imperative that you look at it every day. You've got to have it somewhere where you look at it. If you like tattoos, get it tattooed to your arm. You might have a big list of words of the year all the way down your arm that will only mean something to you.
I don't think we're getting any tattoos, but I really did enjoy this topic. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off?
No, it's just that, like I said, not hitting on that last quarter of 2024 just proves to everyone that we're human. I was listening to a guy on this podcast who he's a coach for billionaires. This guy just smashed it. He's worth so much money. And he said that he has a coach that contacts him. It rings him every morning. Been doing it for 27 years. And he said, why does he ring me every day? He said, because I'm an undisciplined human being. He goes, if someone doesn't keep me on track, I won't do the work. So if that applies to him, then I went, you know what, that applied to me, and it'll apply to everybody. So that's it for me, Jim. I look forward to talking to you again next week.
Okay, Tyson.
Okay, see you later. Bye.